What's going on, my guns and butter family? Welcome back to the dinner table. I hope everybody had a marvelous week and you're ready to get into this week's case. Now, y'all, I sound all nasally and congested because I have COVID. I seriously thought COVID was gone, but I guess this thing is just gonna come back stronger and stronger every year now. I don't know the who, what, when, where, how I got it. I don't know any of the details. Because all I do is go to Pilates, work, and I come up here and I talk to y'all every week. That's it. But anywho, I have it and it is what it is. I sound a lot worse than I actually feel. I don't feel super bad. But we're going to stay consistent. We're going to keep pushing out these episodes. So let's just keep going. So without further ado, I'm not going to keep y'all waiting any longer. Let's go ahead and jump right into it.
That's what it's all about. Guns and butter, baby.
Now this week at the dinner table, I'm going to be telling you guys about the murder of 19-year-old Miya Marcano. Miya was born April 26, 2002 in Pembroke Pines, Florida, just outside of Miami, to her mother Ima Scarbrio and father Marlon Marcano. Now, at some point in time throughout her life, her parents ended up splitting, but her mom was from the British Virgin Islands, so she spent time between there and Florida. So along with her having a younger brother by the name of Marlon Jr., she also had a lot of extended family, cousins, aunts, uncles, and they were all super close-knit. And one thing her family was known to do every single year was participate in carnival. Miya loved to dress up, put on the costumes, dance, hang out with family, just experiencing and getting the full effect of carnival. That was something that she looked forward to doing every year. But like I said, she was only 19, so she was young, vibrant, stunning, and she was driven. She excelled at whatever she put her mind to, including modeling and pageants. But she went on to graduate from Flanagan High School in 2020. She was a COVID graduate, and she was looking forward to experiencing the world. So she wasted no time moving on to the next chapter in her life, heading straight for the University of Central Florida in Orlando. After her freshman year in Central Florida, she ended up transferring to Valencia College. And I think this was like a bridge college program where she was still a part of the main college, which was Central Florida, but she just bridged off and went to Valencia College. But there she was flourishing and she was blossoming into a beautiful young woman. Not only that, but she was also enjoying her studies. Her end goal was to become an orthopedic surgeon, so that was what her main focus was. But before starting school, she and her family researched a nice off-campus apartment called the Arden Villas, and it was just outside of the UCF campus. In fact, the Arden Villas advertised itself as the ultimate off-campus living. It was a nice upscale apartment complex with a pool, cabanas, clubhouse, study lounge, and all kinds of other amenities, so it was perfect for a college student. And not just that, but it had a shuttle to take you to and from campus. So it was really the ideal place for Miya to feel like an adult while still having the convenience of being close to school. And to top it off, she was also working at the leasing office of the Arden. So your girl was on her grown woman-ish, okay? So on September 24th, 2021, Miya had plans to travel to Fort Lauderdale where her dad lived, along with other family members so that they can kick off carnival and then head to Jamaica for a family vacation. So originally she was going to drive up with her brother to Fort Lauderdale, but instead her dad bought her a last-minute plane ticket. So the plan was for her to finish working her shift at the complex around 5 p.m., go back to her apartments, pack up a few last-minute things, and then head out to catch her flight around 8. So that's exactly what she did. She finished her shift and then she had to cancel some dinner plans with friends because, of course, this was a last-minute flight. So she texted her friends around 5:05 telling them that she wouldn't be able to make it to dinner because she got this flight. So she walks back to her apartment to grab her things. She texted a family member to let them know that she was waiting on an Uber to head to the airport, and that was the last anybody had heard from her. Now, this was alarming because Miya was always on her phone. She definitely wasn't the person that was going to leave you on red. If she seen a message pop up, she was going to respond to it. So at first, nobody thought anything of it. But then everyone was just waiting for her to respond, basically saying she was at the airport, maybe she was moving too fast, she forgot her phone, something. But 8 p.m. came and went. and no one heard from Miya. She never checked into her flight, and now her phone was either off or dead because it was going straight to voicemail. But by now her family knew something was wrong, and her mom, who was still in the Virgin Islands at the time, decided to call the Orange County Sheriff's Department in order to have a welfare check done, and this was around 9:23 p.m. So Mia's mom gives the dispatcher a rundown of what's going on for the night. She lets her know that Miya was supposed to make her flight. She hasn't been in contact with anybody since around 5 p.m., and they just wanted somebody to go to her apartment to check on her. So, along with calling the sheriff's department, Mia's brother also had one of his friends go over and knock on the door, but no one answered. So, at around 10:07 p.m., a deputy finally arrived to Mia's apartment. He knocked on the door, but again, no one answered. So he calls Mia's mom back to let her know, he's there, he's doing the welfare check, but nobody's answering the door. And she's pretty much like, wait, don't leave yet. Miya has a roommate, she's on her way home from work, she'll be there in just a minute so you guys can go in and look around. So Mia's roommate eventually gets there, she lets the deputy in, and as he's looking around, Mia's roommate tells him she hadn't noticed anything out of the ordinary with Miya these past couple of days, and that the last time she spoke with her was earlier that day because she was telling her that she was going to Fort Lauderdale for the weekend. So initially, nothing seemed out of the ordinary in the apartment, but Mia's room door was locked. Now, this wasn't completely unusual, being that this is a college living situation and you're going to want to lock your stuff up when you leave most of the time. So the deputy went outside to the back of the building to see if he can look into Mia's bedroom window. Now, at the window, it's closed, but it's unlocked. So he pushed the window open and looked inside the room with his flashlight. Now inside, he didn't immediately notice anything out of the ordinary. So he goes back around the front to talk to her roommate. And when he does, she asks if he noticed a teddy bear anywhere in the room. She explains that the teddy bear was something that Miya cherished and she would never leave town without. And the deputy doesn't recall seeing any teddy bear or anything like that. He doesn't know what he's looking for. He just wanted to see if Miya was actually inside her room. So at this time, the deputy and her roommate go back to the window. They're looking for this teddy bear, and they don't see the teddy bear right off the bat, but they do see that Mia's bed is not made, and the window could be completely open from the outside. And this is odd because when Miya moved into the apartment, her dad installed safety locks on the windows that would only allow the window to open about 4 to 6 inches. And the window locks were screwed in from the inside, and they can only be removed from the inside as well. So now they're noticing the safety locks on Mia's windows were completely gone. And with Mia's roommate still on the phone with Mia's family, the family asks if she's able to go into the room and look around. So the roommate's able to climb into the bedroom window, and once inside, it's clear that something happened in this room. For starters, a small bookshelf had been moved and propped up against the doorknob to prevent anyone from getting in from the outside. Then there were 3 small pieces of jewelry that Miya wore every single day, laying on the floor. Her luggage, along with her backpack that she was planning to take to Fort Lauderdale, were still in the room. Her teddy bear was in the closet, and her bed was unmade. And then they noticed that on her pillow, there was a small patch of something that appeared to be blood. So the family immediately tells the roommate to start taking pictures of Mia's room. They need to make sure they document everything. So at this time, they're able to fully confirm that Miya never boarded her flight to Orlando because the flight had already landed in Fort Lauderdale and Miya was nowhere to be found. So the deputy starts asking if Miya could have been with anybody else, if she had a boyfriend, friends, anything. So her roommate tells the deputy no, she doesn't have a boyfriend, but she did tell me that the apartment complex maintenance man was interested in her, like really interested, almost obsessed with her, and she wasn't interested in him whatsoever. And although she does give the deputy the name of the maintenance man, Armando, he can't do anything with this information. And all they have right now is a possible missing person in a messed up college room. So he doesn't have much to go off of. So he leaves. But Mia's family is on it. They want to find their baby girl. They need to know what's going on. So they immediately get to work. They start calling all the friends and family. They put her information out on social media, let people know that she's missing. And then her dad and brother hop in the car and drive to Orlando from Fort Lauderdale. So the deputy ends up leaving, and then Mia's roommate runs into one of the complex security guards. She tells him what's going on, and then he goes with her back to the apartment to look for some clues. Now, this security guard was able to locate a print outside on the windowsill. So, using a piece of duct tape, he's able to pull the print off the windowsill. So, at this time, it's around 12:30 a.m. It's late. But they do call the Orange County Sheriff's Department back to let them know that they lifted a fingerprint off the windowsill. But luckily, the original responding deputy was able to come back to the scene and get the fingerprint. So by now, Mia's dad and other family members have started to arrive to the apartment. So they meet up with the security guard and they're finally able to search the apartment and Mia's room for themselves. So once inside, they're looking around and they're seeing things that are really concerning them. So they call the deputy back to the scene, and this time it's around 4:54 a.m. And luckily the deputy does come back to the apartment. So back in Mia's room, Mia's family points out a box cutter they found underneath a rug next to her bed. They also found 2 older iPhones, a tablet, Apple Watch, and laptop that were all seized and taken into evidence. They also noticed that the indentations left behind from the bedpost had been recently moved slightly. Now, while Mia's family is in her room making note of everything with the deputy, someone in a silver Ford Fusion pulls up to the complex. And lo and behold, the person driving this Ford Fusion is 27-year-old Armando Caballero, which is the maintenance man Mia's roommate mentioned earlier. So, of course, everybody immediately approaches him. But he's holding his phone and he's talking about he's on the phone with Mia's friend and co-worker named Tati. Now, the officer asked him if he knows what's going on, and he's like, yeah, I'm on the phone with her friend Tati. She told me what was going on, and that's the reason why I'm here right now. And her family is pretty much like, nah, we're not going for that. This just looks way too suspicious. You just coincidentally pop back up at 5 o'clock in the morning? Nah, dude, what are you really doing? So he's steady trying to explain himself. He's like, no, wait, listen. The last time I seen Mia was around 3 p.m. yesterday afternoon when I was working on the clubhouse. But while he's talking to the officer, the family is low-key smart as hell. They start recording the whole conversation. And then they take it upon themselves to start looking in his car windows. And they notice a screwdriver in a bag, a cell phone case on the floor, and a blanket in the back seat. Now, the deputy does make note of all of this, but he continues the conversation with Armando. But Mia's family was getting tired of listening to this man. So they jumped in and started asking questions for themselves.
But no one knows Tati. You keep mentioning Tati, and no one knows Tati.
You get a call all
The
of a sudden.
roommates don't even know Tati.
You've been sleeping since
You
10
keep
o'clock,
saying
and all of a
Tati is
sudden
a
you're showing
friend.
up here at 4 o'clock in the morning
Because
looking
me
for
and
me.
Tati were conversating about it till I finally, it came
Okay,
up.
but
Should I go
Tati
and
is
see if I
someone-
see anything?
No one knows Tati. That's my whole thing. Not
Tati
even the
is
roommate
an
knows
employee
Tati.
here.
She's an employee, but you keep saying Tati is a friend and that you've all hung out together. No one here knows Tati. All her
Well,
other
not
friends
all.
showed up. Her
These
closest
people.
friends that live in the complex were all here with us early on. No one knows Tati. Only you. Whoever Tati is, and Tati's on the phone, she shouldn't even be on the phone right now. As of right now, you have
work
sent
tomorrow-
obsessive
you work tomorrow,
texts to
Tati?
Mia. We have all seen the texts. You talked about giving her your life savings. You cash out her money, and you claim that you weren't in touch.
Who told her
It's
give her
on
life
text.
savings? I never
As a
said
matter of
that.
fact, we're going to get a police report to pull your phone records if that's the case.
What you have to do?
There's evidence of obsession, of something. You're fascinated with
It's
Mia.
not only from my side, so don't try to make this.
No one,
like I'm a
no one's
stalker.
saying that. It takes
She's not
two.
here to defend
There's-
herself right now, so
obviously
we
she's
gotta talk to
missing.
you.
So we're talking to
And
you,
I
who've been going
completely
back and
respect
forth
that. I
on
understand
text.
that.
Alright,
That is
so
your
cool.
family.
Right.
But until we figure out what's going on, just don't beat me up.
Nobody
No
ain't beating
one's
you
If
up.
I'm guilty,
But
well,
you're right here. You brought yourself over here.
because we're concerned.
He may have denied knowing what was going on in Mia's disappearance, but the expression on his face showed that he was scared, almost as if he was caught red-handed. So after her family kind of read him for filth, the officers shifted their attention to the door leading to the maintenance office that the security guard had checked earlier after there had been reports that a noise was heard inside. Now, of course, Armando had the keys and the access to the building, so he was escorted with multiple officers, and the scene was cleared. Nothing was found, so again, the officers left. But again, Mia's family just had this weird feeling. They knew he had something to do with her disappearance, and they weren't going to stop until they had answers. So they ended up doing a little surveillance of their own. So they decided to follow Armando back to his apartment, and they just staked the place out until they seen something. And at approximately 8:40 in the morning, they got a hit. They watched Armando remove several items out of his car: a dark colored book bag, blue latex gloves, and a pink fuzzy blanket that they knew was Mia's because her grandma gave it to her, and her grandma was sitting in the car watching him remove all these items from his car. So they're smart and they're recording Armando's every move. This whole encounter, they're recording it. And then on top of that, they immediately called the police. So within 20 minutes, the Castleberry police had pulled up at Armando's apartment. So when the officers get there, again, Mia's family confronts Armando. This time, he agrees to let them look around his apartment with the officer present. And after doing a walkthrough, there's no sign of Miya or anything that immediately appeared to be out of place, including her pink fuzzy blanket they just watched him remove from his car. So, the Castleberry officer told the family not to come back to Armando's apartment and to let law enforcement handle the investigation. And that was the end of that. So a couple hours later, Mia's dad goes down to the Orange County Police Department and fills them in on some information that he just found out. He tells them that earlier that week, Armando completed a work order in Mia's apartment for like a water leak or something. But the week prior to that, he tried to send Mia money through Cash App, and he professed his love to her and offered to take her out. But she sent the money back and politely declined his offers. She was completely uninterested in him. And he continues on by saying, Armando had just randomly, coincidentally, showed up to Mia's apartment the night she went missing. And the family also noticed some injuries to his face. And now it's almost 19 hours since anyone had heard from Mia. And due to the circumstances, police were now starting to take this case more seriously. So at this time, the responding officer and Mia's dad head to the leasing office to speak to the property manager. And there, the property manager tells them that Mia had been seen on surveillance leaving the leasing office moments after her shift ended at around 5 p.m. the day prior. And just as the property manager said, you can clearly see Mia on the surveillance footage. She has her phone in hand. She's walking out of the building wearing a maroon work shirt. She has on a hoodie, jeans, and black sneakers. And nothing seems out of the ordinary. And then the property manager drops another jewel. She tells him that the complex uses a key fob system. And this system is cool because it literally tracks everything. It keeps records of when and what key was used to lock or unlock any apartment door. So the property manager pulls Mia's records, and immediately she notices something interesting. The on-call maintenance key fob accessed Mia's door on September 24th, the day she went missing, at 4:34 p.m. Now the issue with this is, no maintenance request was put in for Mia's apartment that day. And per the complex policy, maintenance workers were not supposed to just be going in and out of people's apartments without an active work request or an emergency situation. And we already know who the on-call maintenance worker was that day. It was Armando. So that means that this dude was just sitting in her apartment waiting for her to get off work. Okay, so listen to what they found out about the timeline of the key fob usage. So on September 24th, Mia's deadbolt was unlocked using the on-call maintenance key fob. And then it was locked again with the same key fob a minute later at 4:35. Then at 5:02, the deadbolt was opened from the inside, then immediately locked again seconds later. 4 minutes later, at 5:06, the deadbolt was unlocked using Mia's key fob. And then at 5:12, the deadbolt was locked again from the inside. So a little over 2 hours passed, and the deadbolt was accessed again at 7:16 p.m. It's crazy how technology works. So at 7:16, it was Mia's key fob that was used, but the lock was accessed from inside, which didn't make any sense because the last time it had been locked, it appeared to be locked from the inside as well. And it made no sense because how did Mia's key fob make it inside the apartment, then back outside the apartment, when the door was last locked from the inside? And on top of that, when Mia's key fob was used that last time outside the door, the deadbolt was never unlocked and the door was never opened. So with all this evidence, officers are finally convinced that Armando has something to do with her disappearance. So the responding officer called his supervisor, who responded to the scene. So at this time, it was all hands on deck, and the search for Mia was in full effect. The supervisor called in detectives with the missing person squad, and the detectives, along with several officers, searched all over the apartment complex, looking in storage closets, maintenance garages. They even called in a K-9 unit as well as CSI. and everybody was on the hunt for Miya. So as the investigation is starting to kick off, the investigators are starting to conduct interviews with the family. And it was Mia's brother Marlon who tells detectives that he remembers Miya telling him that a guy she worked with liked her so much he sent her $700 through Cash App just for being pretty, saying that he thought she was the most beautiful girl in the world. But Mia's brother tells detectives that she also sent the money back to him and politely turned him down. Again. Now, this story was also corroborated by several co-workers and friends of Mia's. So it turns out Miya has a group chat with some co-workers. That Tati girl who Armando was supposedly talking to the night she went missing was one of the girls in the group chat, along with another co-worker by the name of Jasmine. So Jasmine tells detectives that Miya would frequently show screenshots of messages Armando would send her in this group chat. She goes on to say that Armando would send Miya long, emotional messages and then get mad when Miya didn't respond. So, according to Jasmine, a few days before Miya went missing, her apartment had a flood, so maintenance workers had been going in and out of her house in order to fix the leak. So that Tuesday, the 21st, 3 days before she went missing, Armando had gone back to her apartment to supposedly get a tool he left behind. And that same day, Miya texted the group chat saying that while Armando was there, he tells her he cleared his mind enough to follow her back on Instagram. You see, according to Jasmine, Armando would get mad and obsessive whenever Miya would post about what she was doing on Instagram, especially if she wasn't responding to him. And then Miya sent a screenshot to the group of the message Armando sent to her. It says, quote, "Everything else burnt out, but respectfully, I can't lie. I would have loved to taste you, or see how it was at least once," end quote. And of course, Miya was grossed out. She never responded to any of the passes he made at her. But at this point, investigators had enough evidence to get a search warrant drafted for Armando's apartment. And at around 1:30 a.m. on Sunday, September 26, a search warrant was executed at Armando's apartment. Now, several items were taken, but the only thing that was of any value in his apartment was that key fob, which was the one that was assigned specifically to Armando, and also the one that was used to access Mia's apartment the day she went missing. And at this particular point in time, Armando was nowhere to be found. So while they get a warrant together for a burglary charge against him, they find out that according to police documents, a felony warrant team was already on the lookout for him. So while detectives are on the lookout for Armando, the investigation is hot and new information is coming in daily with how obsessed this man was with Miya. And after 3 days of searching for Armando with no luck, on Monday, September 27th, the search for Armando finally ends.
After Miya was reported missing, our detectives determined 27-year-old Armando Manuel Caballero was a person of interest in her disappearance. Earlier today, Armando Caballero was found dead at an apartment complex in Seminole County. We are employing anyone with any information about Mia's whereabouts to please come forward.
So just as the investigators were closing in on Armando, he took the easy way out and decided to take his own life. He hung himself in one of the maintenance garages at the apartment complex. But he killed himself without telling anybody what happened to Miya. So the search for her was still very much alive and well. So with Armando being gone, they go ahead and do a full search of his car. So in his car, they find used black duct tape under the front passenger seat that was wrapped into a circle that looked as if it was wrapped around something or someone and then pulled off. And then on top of that, it also had hair stuck to it. And after 4 days of no word from Miya, on Tuesday, September 28th, investigators learned that Armando's car had a GPS tracking system in it. And at the apartment complex in the places where Armando would have access to, they find this exact type of black duct tape. But 2 days later, on Thursday, September 30th, investigators finally received the GPS device results from Armando's Ford Fusion, and they noticed something interesting. The GPS device stopped recording any activity from September 25th at around 1:51 in the morning, and later forensic testing could confirm Armando's fingerprints on the device. He had disabled it hours after Mia's disappearance. But all at the same time, investigators also received a more detailed version of Armando's sale records, And after going through all the digital evidence and surveillance videos, along with analysis of what evidence provided by the FDLE and later the FBI, they were able to narrow down a precise timeline of Armando's movements. And they noted that after Mia's disappearance, he spent a significant amount of time in New Samir Beach. He had been in that area in the early morning hours of September 25th. So that particular area was searched extensively over the next 2 days. They took K9s, drones, dive teams, and helicopters. And despite all the search efforts in the area of the New Samir Beach, nothing relating to Mia's disappearance was ever found. So the Orange County Sheriff's Department sent more cell records off to the FBI for further analysis. And this is how they were able to pinpoint a more exact location of where Armando had visited. And according to police records, the focus of this new search was now shifted from the area in the New Samaria to an area in the Timberscan condos. Now, this apartment complex was not only where Armando used to live, but it's also now abandoned, and it only had a few tenants living in the front of the property. So this would be the perfect place to try to hide a body. And on top of that, his cell phone records showed that he had been in the area of these apartments on September 24th between 8:30 and 8:40 p.m. So the Orange County Sheriff's Office sent out 54 members of the emergency response team to search this area. But at around 10:45 a.m., when Deputy Carlos Caballera was searching a grassy field, when he noticed an area that had been recently disturbed. As he got closer, he noticed a deceased female. A red purse was leaned up against the body, and investigators immediately recognized this as the same purse Miya was carrying when she was captured on surveillance leaving work the day she went missing. So it had been 8 days since anybody had seen or heard from Miya. But on Saturday, October 2nd, Mia's body was finally found. And there was no doubt in anybody's mind that Armando was responsible. Not only did he take his own life in the guiltiest way possible, but that same black duct tape that was found in his car was also found wrapped around Mia's head, neck, wrist, and ankles. But due to the decomposition that had already started to take place, the ME wasn't able to give an exact determination of her cause of death. So the autopsy report reads, quote, "In my opinion, the manner in which she was found, with multiple restraints, and her disposition in an abandoned area in an apartment complex indicated some type of assault. But because the lack of any identifiable soft tissue due to advanced decomposition, the cause of death is a result of homicide by undetermined means." End quote. Mia's homegoing service was held on October 14th, and following her death, her family started a foundation in her honor. Her foundation is called Mia's Law, and it pretty much fights to increase the safety and protection of the most vulnerable population, including students, children, single mothers, senior citizens, tenant victims. But in order to increase safety, her family really wanted to implement higher level of background checks and also limit the use of master keys in residential areas. But this case really hit me because her family really didn't get justice. They fought so hard to catch this man before he did what he did, and unfortunately it was too late, so they didn't really get justice for Mia's death. But that's pretty much the end of this week's case. I hope y'all enjoyed, and as usual, I'll see you guys back here same place, same time next week.